Hey, this is Adam Fisher, and today I have the top 23 questions that new Amazon sellers ask me about the FBA process. So I'm going to go through each one of them. Now, a lot of them could have their own video made on that topic, but I'm going to give you as much useful information as possible about each one. Let's start off with how much does it cost to start an Amazon FBA business? Now, the more money you have, the more product ideas that are available to you because, well, some products just cost more money, and suppliers also are going to have minimum order quantities. So typically I say about $3,000 is the minimum that you should have for your business. And this is going to include the product cost and everything involved with it. But once you get to around $5,000 is when you're going to have a lot of product ideas available to you. And if you do anything like your own photography or something that can help reduce the cost. And this does not include education. And if you're broke, investors are great and underplayed. A lot of business people out there who own gas stations or McDonald's, they would love to get in on the Amazon business and they have a ton of money sitting around. Now, how long does it take to launch your very first product? It's going to take you between 60 and 100 hours of work, but this is not at one time. This is typically spread out over 3 to 5 months of work. It seems like a long time, and it is. But the people who launch their product in less time, say a month or two, typically means that they cut a lot of corners that they should not have had, and I see it over and over again. Those people are way less likely to succeed. The more time and the more effort you put into a product is a huge advantage, actually, because people are really, really lazy. And the products that get really competitive are the ones that are easy to do and take very little work. I see it over and over again. Now, is Amazon really a passive income stream? Now, obviously, it's not once you are working and launching a product, but once your product is up and going, it is, in fact, quite passive. My very first product has been running this entire year of 2019. We are over 10 months in here, and I've made about $35K in profit from that product, and I have done nothing but reorder. So I've spent maybe 30 hours this year on that product. I spent more time checking my sales than I have. The reality is, though, you have to get the product up first. Now, with that being said, what makes a product successful? What factors really factor in? Where should you be focusing your time to actually make money here? And it's going to probably surprise you. About 60% of your success, one factor determines 60% of your success, is picking the right product, picking a good product. About 30% of your success comes from writing a really good listing that demonstrates why your product is better than what's already out there. And the last 10% of the entire process comes from everything else. Now, there are very important things like getting a good supplier, building a relationship with them that are important. But the things that are going to determine your success are likely these two things. Now, how long does a product make you money once it's up? You don't want to worry too much about competition, do you? Now, typically I see products last for good products. If you took shortcuts, I can't promise you anything. But a good product should last you for 12 months minimum, oftentimes more years than that, sometimes a lot of years. And products do build into brands that last and gets for a long, long time. Now, that does require you to pick the right product, but we'll talk about that in a couple of these future questions. Now, is it too late to start Amazon FBA? People, this game has been going on for almost 10 years now. And the reality is, yes, it is way too late to start Amazon FBA if you're lazy. And if you're broke and you just want to take shortcuts, this is not for you. No business is probably for you, but definitely not Amazon FBA. I have students launching more products and I'm working on multiple more. It's not too late. But the strategy has changed because is Amazon as easy as it once was? And I have been in the game for say 5-7 years, but from what I hear, it is definitely harder to do. But is that really a disadvantage? In fact, I actually look for products when I'm picking between different product ideas that are going to take more work. They're going to require me to be more creative and possibly require more money because I know those products are instead of making me money for, say, 1 year, likely will make me money for years and years because people, again, are lazy and we're just going to scare off competition. And on top of that, the more work you put in to innovate your product and make it better than what's out there, the more likely that you can completely dominate what's out there instead of just doing something small and taking a small percentage of the market sales. So if you're lazy, this isn't for you, period. If you don't want to work, if you don't want to be creative, this is not the business for you. It's not. How do you find these incredible products? The 60% of your success requires it. So there's a couple of things you're going to want to do. You need to find a market that has a lot of sales. Don't pick small markets. If the top sellers are doing $10,000 a month, get out of there. Run, literally run. For me, I personally like to look for markets where there's at least one $100,000 a month seller. And this is revenue, not profit. Profit is usually about a third of how much money you sell. So if somebody sells $100,000 a month, they're going to make $33,000 in profit on average. I right now have much higher margins. I usually make about 40 to 45% of my sales in profit. Now, once you have found this massive market, you're going to want to learn absolutely everything you possibly can about the market. I typically will spend an hour or 2 hours building a Word document that has multiple pages of every product that's in there. I read the product reviews. I figure out what questions customers are asking on these products before they purchase them. I look at the customer photos and I understand who are the customers using them. Why are they using this product? What potential pain points does each customer segment have? And then that information at some point allows me to find a hole in the market that's not being filled by the current sellers there. But it usually doesn't click until oftentimes an hour or more into this process of analyzing one market and all of its related sub-markets. At that point, you really have two choices. You either need to pick a small part of the market that your research has showed you has been neglected. Maybe a product is used 15% of the time in the bathroom instead of the kitchen, even though it's the same product. And so we can build one to specifically fit the needs of those using it in the bathroom. Same thing, maybe it's car versus home use. One thing I see people being very successful in is doing this with designs. Say you've got, unicorns are really popular right now. Say you've got a product that's targeted to kids. If you can't find one that is a unicorn, that's probably a good idea to do. Now, don't take that oversimplification and just run with the unicorn product. Now, the second option, besides just picking one small part of the market, is to just straight up innovate the product with a new feature, a new design, or something new that has more value. And that's really where the question is. If you can write down 2 to 3 bullet points on why customers will pick your product over the competition's products when they buy it, I mean, this is just logic. This is just basic shopping logic. Your product is going to sell and sell well. All these other fancy things, they're not really going to matter. So this is the one couple questions I've had to really oversimplify because I've spent hundreds of hours perfecting this strategy, and I'm not perfect at all. So I will put some videos at the very first part of the description that go more into product research. Now, do you need to buy a course? No, you do not. I personally did not buy a course when I started my business almost 2 years ago. I didn't. But the reality is that the less education you have, the less likely you are to succeed. So most of the time, and this is why I adamantly tell people to buy courses, a good course only. If you buy a shitty course, that's on you. Because the amount of education you will get usually, almost always, make you more money and help you avoid really expensive mistakes than if you didn't have it. So it's very possible to succeed without a course. It's just likely going to take you more time and you're likely to fail more until you finally succeed. But I personally did not have a course. How many people lose money on their first product? This is really hard to tell you because there's just not data about it. And even if I collected data, the people who come to me more often are the people who fail because they need help. I had a student who has been succeeding in his business for a year and just came to me about a couple weeks ago to tell me that. That's how successful people are. They don't need my help anymore. So my estimate's probably around 30% of new sellers lose their money, which seems really scary. I'm not saying they lose all their money, but they lose some. And it really isn't as scary when you understand the type of people who lose their money, because it's their fault almost all the time. Sometimes you do get screwed, but not usually. Because a lot of these people come into Amazon with the mindset that I'm just going to put a product up there and see if it succeeds. And then even if I lose my money, it's okay. I'm just going to put another product up there with all that I've learned. This is a really, really stupid mindset. Because we talked about it before, 60% of your success is based on picking a winning product. So when you willingly pick a product you know isn't that great, you're not really learning that much about what truly makes products successful. And you learn a lot about stuff like advertising on Amazon, which is really not that useful or helpful to make you a lot of money on Amazon. So that is a lot of those people who fail. And also the other issue is of the people who fail, I can look at their product and within seconds, I can 99% of the time tell you, yeah, you picked a stupid product. You should have never launched this. Now, this just really means they didn't have enough education. They didn't seek out a mentor. There's something they did wrong, which naturally you're not going to be perfect on your first try, but some of the products I have seen have just been so ridiculous, and I don't think they watch a single video of mine, some of these subscribers, before they launch it. And I don't know why. So it is no surprise that they are losing money. On the other hand, we do have students making a lot of money. I have one student selling $100,000 a month on his very first product just because he did everything right and got a little lucky. Should you build a brand on your very first product, or just focus on building products out one by one? And I always tell you to find the absolute best product idea you can and run with it. And then find the next absolute best product you can and run with it until at some point you will find a product. And the next best product for you to launch will be something in the same exact brand, a different color, a different size, building upon what you already have. You're already going to have the baseline. You're already going to have a factory to build this for you. And it will simply be the next thing. And at some point you will have a brand built out and you didn't even try. You just launched the best products. Because when you go to sell your business, and this is what people always quote, when you sell your business, people want to buy a brand. No, they don't. People want to buy a business that makes the absolute most money and profit as physically possible. That's what people buying your business want. And so if you build a brand, I see a lot of new sellers launching incredibly subpar products because I'm building a brand, so it's clearly worth it. And it's not. So please don't do it. Now, do you need a trademark or a patent to start selling? The short answer is absolutely not. You don't need either one of those. They take a lot of time, and it's way not worth your time to wait. And they simply don't provide a lot of protection, at least not as much as new sellers think. When is the best time of year to launch a product? I hear this a lot. The current time of recording this, Q4, is upon us. The best time at all times is absolutely right now. I mean, $1 million is sold on Amazon every single hour. So are you really going to wait to fulfill your dream, quit your job, travel the world just so you can have a slightly better time of year to launch a product? No. Now, why do we source our products in China as opposed to somewhere else? Well, the simple answer is over the last 50 years, at least the US has removed thousands, hundreds of thousands of manufacturing jobs, and China has built up millions more. So when you go to China, you have an infinite greater number of factories to work with. That means you have an infinite greater number of products that they are already producing or have the capability of producing. And labor is cheaper, but more importantly, because they have so many factories and it's just so much easier to set up them over there, you're going to get a much lower minimum order quantity and a lot more customization. Flat out. I tried to buy a product here in the US. The minimum order quantity was going to be between 20,000 and 30,000 units. 20 and 30,000. That was with no customization at all. That's why I don't source here in the US. Now, do these new tariffs ruin Amazon for people importing products into the US? The reality is that everybody has to pay them, no matter who they are. And more importantly, my best products have I triple or quadruple my money on them. So I have lots of room to give up to tariffs, even though it sucks. So when I invest $5,000 into these products, I come away with, after all Amazon's fees and their products cost, $15,000 or $20,000 back. That's another reason why Amazon is an insanely good business if you get good at it, because your returns will outpace the stock market 100 to 1. Will your Chinese supplier steal your product idea and sell it on Amazon themselves? This is a common concern because it has happened, but it is a lot less likely to happen than you are led to believe and you're scared about. I still have not had a single student or subscriber I can recall who has ever told me this happened to them. Ever. Though I've heard stories of it happening, and those stories keep coming up. Because the reality is, a lot of manufacturers in China, they want to stay in the manufacturing business. They don't want to expand. And more importantly, the Chinese do a lot of business based on their relationships. So you build a relationship with your supplier, and they are not these dishonest people with no integrity that I keep hearing people talk about. That has been the exact opposite. I have found them to be more honest and have more integrity than people here in the US that I do business with. Hands down. I've gotten scammed multiple times here in the US by other people I try to work with. Not happened yet in China. There's no way to absolutely protect yourself because contracts don't work when it's between two different countries. There's no way to enforce it. But you're way too worried about this. So how much do product samples cost? Well, typically 30 to 50 bucks. That's shipping included. They'll come usually via DHL, but it's going to cost you more if your product is very large or it's customized, and you're going to pay via PayPal every time. Now, how do you get suppliers to actually make changes to your product, a new design? You might stitch this on there, glue this on there. Well, there's two things you need to understand. When you are looking for suppliers, this is a numbers game, just like in anything, in dating or whatever. You are going to go through a bunch of people that just are not going to want to work with you, are not going to be a good match until you finally find somebody who you want to work with. So you just don't expect the first 3 people to be the solution to your problem. Keep going through more people. Now you need to realize though that certain innovations are just never, ever going to work on smaller quantities or when you have no money to work with. Easy innovations are those that require stitching, fabric, anything printed, small parts, addition, anything you can glue on when you bundle a couple products together. Those are easy, but very difficult products that you just, because of the manufacturing process, you cannot modify these in order 300 units. Anything where you take a plastic piece or a metal piece and you modify how it looks. You realize that plastic and metal are melted down, put into this mold that could cost you $3,000, it could cost you $12,000, and then the metal and plastic is then cooled off and it's taken out of the mold. You have to buy that mold. That's a big part of your problem. You don't realize what stuff is okay and what's not. Now, how many units do you order in your very first order? Typically 300 to 500 units, especially as a first product. Now, sometimes you go up to 1,000 units when maybe it's a very cheap product, but I have made the mistake on my 4th product I did, where I ordered too many units. I got too confident, and I look back and I realize exactly what mistake I made picking that product, but now I've been sitting on that inventory for, 6 months now, and it is still slowly selling out, and I'm I'm not going to lose all my money, but I'm going to lose a little bit because I'm selling it at my break-even price, but storage costs a little bit on Amazon, not too much. So is Amazon FBA a scary business to be in? Yes, it is. This isn't just Amazon FBA related. Every time, even though I've done it many times, I write a check for say $5,000 or $7,000 for a new product and PayPal it off, I am scared. Okay, that's still a lot of money to me. I'm not a millionaire or a billionaire. And so anytime you invest money that is any serious part of your net worth, it's scary. Period. Hands down. It's never going to get old. Okay. It's just the numbers are going to get bigger. Billionaires get worried when they invest $100 million, whereas, we're worried when we're spending thousands. Now, there's this thing called the 70% rule that's going to help you alleviate this. Okay. The rule is when you are 70% sure that this is the right product to do and this is the time to do it, you do it. I don't want you to get ahead of yourself and launch something too quickly, but the reality is that when you are 100% sure that something's a good idea, that means somebody else has already done it and they're making money, and you're never, ever, ever going to get anything done. You're never going to make any decisions, and you will never have your own business and live your dream if you're worried until you're 100% sure. Period. This is the only rule that I was reminded by my mentor to launch my first product. Now, how much does shipping cost for these products? And what products should you ship via air or via sea? Well, sea shipping itself, it's very, very cheap. You see the shoebox right here? I just got a quote about a week ago to ship some products that are about half the size of this shoebox from China to the US. My shipping was $1.34 per unit. Now, that doesn't include tariffs. It's just the shipping. Okay. So I could ship this whole shoebox for $2.70. For a product size, the size of a shoebox, and I got big feet, that's pretty cheap. Generally, sea shipping is way, way cheaper than new sellers think. It really just is. Air shipping, on the other hand, is sometimes a lot more expensive than new sellers think. And if you are shipping anything bigger than, say, a 12, 16-ounce cup, that probably means you need to look at sea shipping for it, because air shipping gets expensive fast, and a lot faster than you new sellers think. How do customers shop on Amazon? This is a question I made up because it's really good mindset info for you guys. So when customers are shopping, the first thing they do is they're either in the search results or somewhere else on Amazon, and they see your first picture and they see your title. And that is it. That is the only thing they know about your product. So the goal of those two things is to intrigue them, to give them a little information that makes them want to click. Tell them about what you did to innovate your product, or show it to them if you can. And that's it. So once you intrigue them, then they are going to come over to your product and look at your listing. And they shop very fast. They are window shopping. So you need to get that point across as concisely as possible why your product's better. So really the pictures should walk the customers through. Start at picture 1, 2, 3, 4, and explain to them each of your important parts of your product that would make them want to buy your product over the other. One last thing you should know is that very, very few customers read the description or the bullet points. Some do, but they are skimming those and reading barely any of them. So your important information needs to be in your pictures, which brings us to the next question. How do you design great pictures? Remember, the listing is that you write is 30% of your success, and the pictures are at least half of that. So each one of your pictures is obviously, most of them are going to show your product, but you need to write on them. Almost everyone, except the first one, because that's against Amazon's terms of service, should be written on. And every single one of my pictures has a title on it to tell them the one main point they need to get from that picture. Some of them have subtitles, some of them have bullet points on them. They're looking at pictures to buy. They're not reading your whole title or your bullet points. They're looking at pictures, so use them to communicate the info you would rather write. What is my advice for brand new sellers? I've got 3 points that are going to change the way you do this business. The first one is you need to figure out how to solve your own problems. This is just business life related. Hey, If you haven't learned and mastered the art of Googling stuff, figuring out how to find it on YouTube and get the info, you are screwed, because you are going to come against thing after thing, an obstacle where you simply do not know the answer. And that is normal. That is good. It means you're pushing your comfort zone and doing things that are going to get you somewhere in life. But you're going to have to be willing to accept some risk and find the best info you physically can about it. Now, you also need to, as you are looking at your product idea, plan exactly how your customers are going to see your innovation and understand why your product is better. My mother last night told me she wanted to put out a product and make the zipper better. That's one complaint people have. Well, here's my problem. How am I going to show people that I have a better zipper? Like, what video, what picture, what am I going to write? I don't know. That's the thing. It's very, very hard to communicate. And so, is that really something I want to base my product idea on? And it just isn't. It just is not. So you want stuff that can be communicated very well through pictures and a little bit of text, because this is not Walmart. It's not Target. People cannot pick up products in store and compare the two. So if you can't see it on a picture, it's literally worthless. It just is. Now, over time, the reviews will reflect that, but not everybody reads every reviews. Some people don't read any reviews, and it takes a while to get reviews. This is probably the most useful one, because it's going to affect your entire rest of your business. Be careful who your mentor is. And you have a lot of mentors. You've probably watched 10 different Amazon YouTubers in the last 2 weeks. And you should figure out who's good and who's not. Because I hate to see this. Because this is the number one reason that people launch bad products. Because they listened to the wrong person and they gave them stupid advice. So I try and be as transparent as I can. I'm not saying you should go out and listen to everything I do. There's other good people out there. But man, if they're not showing their sales, if they don't seem real, just be careful, because that is legitimately the number one reason I see people lose money. So here are those 2 videos on how to find winning products. I promised you earlier on in the video. All of you guys, thank you for being here. Please subscribe, because I know so many of you aren't. I will see you in either of these 2 phenomenal videos.